1 in 4 adults on this planet report having no close friends at all. 0. Not a handful. Not 1 or 2. None. And according to the United States Surgeon General, loneliness now poses a health risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That is not a metaphor. That is a measurable, biological reality. And the terrifying part is that this crisis is accelerating at a moment when human beings are more digitally connected than at any point in all of recorded history. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly why loneliness has become the defining public health crisis of the 21st century, what specific forces are driving it, and why the standard advice about fixing it is almost completely wrong. We will look at the data, the neuroscience, and the social shifts that have brought us here. And at the very end, we will reveal the one counterintuitive truth about loneliness that most researchers are only beginning to admit, something that fundamentally changes how you should think about human connection. To understand where we are, you have to understand where we came from. For the overwhelming majority of human history, loneliness was not a widespread social condition. It was an individual punishment. Exile, solitary confinement, being cast out from the tribe, these were among the harshest sentences a society could impose. The human brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years in tight-knit groups of roughly 20 to 50 people. Connection was not optional. It was survival. Your ability to maintain bonds with others determined whether you ate, whether you were protected, whether you reproduced. The brain actually developed dedicated neural circuitry for detecting social exclusion, because exclusion meant death. Fast forward to the 20th century. Industrialization, urbanization, and rising incomes gave people something they had never had before in human history, the ability to live alone by choice. For the first time, solitude became accessible. And initially, this looked like progress. Independence. Personal freedom. The ability to define yourself outside of family and community structures. But somewhere in that transformation, a line was crossed. Between 1980 and 2020, the number of Americans living alone nearly doubled. Today, roughly 38 million Americans live in single-person households. In Sweden, that figure rises to 60% of all households. In Japan, the government created an entire cabinet-level ministry specifically dedicated to addressing loneliness in 2021. The United Kingdom did the same thing in 2018. These are not countries in crisis mode over a niche problem. These are wealthy, stable, modern democracies acknowledging that something has gone structurally wrong with human social life. The data makes the scale undeniable. In 2023, the American Surgeon General Vivek Murthy released a comprehensive advisory stating that roughly half of American adults report measurable levels of loneliness. A Gallup survey of over 140,000 people across 116 countries found that approximately 24% of the global adult population feels very lonely. That is nearly 2 billion human beings experiencing significant isolation right now, on a planet with more communication technology than ever before. The numbers do not add up until you start looking at the real causes. Here's what nobody talks about. Social media and smartphones did not cause the loneliness epidemic. They are a symptom of it and an amplifier of it, but the roots go far deeper. Researchers have identified a cluster of structural changes that began decades before Instagram or TikTok ever existed. Church attendance in the United States dropped from roughly 70% in the 1970s to under 50% today. Union membership collapsed. Civic organizations like the Elks, Rotary clubs, and bowling leagues that Robert Putnam documented in his landmark book Bowling Alone saw membership decline by more than 40% between 1970 and 2000. These were not just hobbies. They were infrastructure. They were the scaffolding on which consistent, repeated human contact was built. And we dismantled that scaffolding without replacing it with anything. Add to this the dramatic increase in geographic mobility. The average American moves 11 to 12 times in their lifetime. Every move severs existing social networks and requires rebuilding from scratch. Building genuine friendship in adulthood is notoriously difficult. It requires what sociologist Mark Granovetter called repeated unplanned interaction in a shared context. You need to keep running into the same people, in a low-stakes environment, over time, without forcing it. Modern life systematically eliminates that possibility. The neuroscience of loneliness is where this story becomes genuinely alarming. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago spent decades studying what chronic loneliness does to the human body. His findings were stark. Lonely individuals show elevated cortisol levels, increased inflammatory markers, disrupted sleep architecture, and compromised immune function. Their cardiovascular systems age faster. Their cognitive decline accelerates. People who report chronic loneliness have a 45% higher risk of early death compared to people with strong social ties. That number exceeds the risk associated with obesity and rivals the risk of smoking. The body interprets prolonged social isolation as a threat signal and responds by moving into a state of chronic biological stress. What makes this especially insidious is that loneliness rewires the brain over time. Cacioppo's research showed that chronically lonely individuals become hypervigilant to social threat. They begin interpreting ambiguous social signals as hostile. They expect rejection. They withdraw preemptively to protect themselves. This creates a feedback loop that becomes increasingly difficult to escape. Loneliness makes the social skills you need to overcome loneliness progressively harder to use. And now consider who is being hit hardest. Young adults aged 18 to 25 are currently the loneliest demographic in America, which almost no one predicted. The generation that grew up with social media is reporting the lowest rates of close friendship in recorded survey history. According to a 2021 Survey Center on American Life report, 15% of men in America report having no close friends at all. That figure was 3% in 1990. That is a five-fold increase in 3 decades. And these are the people who technically have the most tools available to connect with each other. But here is where we need to interrogate the tools themselves. Digital interaction is not socially equivalent to in-person contact. Brain imaging studies show that face-to-face conversation activates a broad and rich network of social and emotional processing regions in ways that text communication simply does not replicate. The parasympathetic responses, the mirroring of facial expressions, the synchronization of breathing and heart rate that happens during real physical presence, these are biological events that contribute to the feeling of genuine connection. Scrolling a feed, reacting with a thumbs up, or even video calling activates a much thinner slice of that system. It provides the simulation of contact without fully delivering the neurological substance of it. People are filling hours with digital interaction and still feeling empty. That emptiness is not weakness or ingratitude. It is biology. The economic dimension of this crisis is also being seriously underestimated. Lonely employees take more sick days. They are less productive, less creative, and less committed to their organizations. A 2020 analysis published in the Harvard Business Review estimated that loneliness costs American employers over $500 billion annually in lost productivity. Insurance companies are beginning to price loneliness-related health costs into actuarial models. The economic feedback loop means that as people work longer hours to maintain financial stability, they have less time for social investment, which deepens isolation, which worsens health outcomes, which increases costs. The trap tightens. So what actually works? The counterintuitive insight that research is converging on is this: the solution to loneliness is not more social contact. It is better quality, more vulnerable social contact at the right frequency. Studies consistently show that 2 to 3 hours per week of deep, reciprocal conversation with a small number of people produces dramatically better outcomes than dozens of shallow interactions. People do not need a bigger social network. They need a braver one. They need conversations where something real is shared. And the research shows that most people dramatically underestimate how much strangers and acquaintances actually want to have those real conversations. We are all waiting for someone else to go first. The loneliness epidemic is real, it is measurable, it is biologically dangerous, and it is being systematically produced by the structure of modern life. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Trend Now Daily for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.